Alright, let's talk about the moment you shut down in a relationship. Not when you leave, when you're still there, but something goes offline. The moment conflict starts and your mind goes quiet. The moment someone needs an answer and you can't find the words. The moment you care and then feel nothing. That shift isn't random, it's a nervous system response. From the outside, shutdown looks cold, detached, unresponsive, uninterested, but internally it doesn't feel cold. It feels overloaded, too much emotion, too much intensity, too much exposure. And instead of escalating, your system reduces. It lowers output. It pulls you inward, and it tends to happen with the people who matter most. Welcome to Spark, a place for healing. Today we're going to break down what's actually happening when you shut down in relationships, when conversation turns into fog, when your body stiffens and your voice flattens, when you're physically present but no longer emotionally accessible. This isn't about personality, it's about capacity. And once you understand the mechanism, you stop misinterpreting yourself and start seeing the protection underneath. Shutdown is not calmness, it's not composure, it's not maturity, it's a stress response. When emotional intensity exceeds what your system can regulate, it shifts into conservation mode. Less expression, less movement, less access. The goal is not connection, the goal is containment. Shutdown is subtle. Your thoughts slow down, words become harder to organize, your chest tightens, your face neutralizes, your tone flattens. You hear the other person, but you can assemble yourself. You're present, but not reachable. You don't choose it. It happens before thought, because your nervous system isn't asking, is this person safe? It's asking, have I felt something like this before? And did it end badly? Tone shifts, facial tension, a certain silence. If something matches an old imprint, the system intervenes. Protection moves faster than logic. From the outside, it can look like rejection. Inside, it's prevention. Prevention of escalation, prevention of shame, prevention of rupture, prevention of loss. Your body would rather disconnect temporarily than risk something it once learned was dangerous. Relationships activate attachment. Attachment raises the stakes. The part of you that once depended on connection for safety becomes alert. So tension doesn't feel minor. It feels destabilizing. And instability in attachment can register as threat. Intimacy means being seen, your reactions, your needs, your vulnerabilities. If being seen once led to criticism, dismissal, control, or withdrawal, then closeness carries risk. Exposure increases nervous system load, and load increases the chances of shutdown. In a regulated system, conflict is uncomfortable but manageable. In a sensitized system, conflict can feel catastrophic. Raised voices may register as rejection. Silence may register as abandonment. Frustration may register as loss. When something feels catastrophic, the system doesn't debate, it protects. In intimate relationships, you often can't fight and you often can't leave. So the body uses the third pathway. Freeze, reduce, flatten, minimize. Escalation feels unsafe and exit feels impossible. Shutdown becomes the safest available strategy. This is the silent version. You go still, your responses shorten, your thoughts scatter, your emotional range narrows. Later, you replay it and think, I should have said something. But in that moment, expression wasn't the priority, safety was. This one looks cooperative. You smooth things over, you agree quickly, you de-escalate. But your real reaction never enters the room. You stay connected by abandoning your position. The relationship continues, but you shrink. Sometimes it begins with intensity, hit in the body, strong emotion, escalating energy, and then flat, detached, unavailable. The system exceeds its capacity, and when capacity is exceeded, it conserves. All three patterns share the same root. At some point, staying fully present felt unsafe, so your nervous system learned how to live without physically living. Shutdown didn't appear out of nowhere. At some point, it solved the problem. There was an environment where full expression felt unsafe, where speaking up escalated things, where emotion wasn't welcomed, where intensity wasn't handled well, and your system adjusted. It learned that less presence meant less risk. That adjustment worked. That's why it stayed. Most shutdown patterns form when you had limited options. You couldn't argue freely, you couldn't walk away, you couldn't control the environment. So the body found a third solution: reduce visibility, reduce emotional output, reduce impact. If you make yourself smaller, you reduce exposure, and reduced exposure often meant reduced danger. This is very important. For many people, shutdown wasn't about escaping connection. It was about preserving it. If conflict risked rupture, staying quiet preserved proximity. If disagreement risked withdrawal, compliance preserved closeness. Shutdown often kept the relationship intact, even if it cost you internally. Now, as an adult, when shutdown happens, it feels like a character flaw, like weakness, like incapacity, like emotional immaturity. But what you're experiencing is an old regulatory limit. The system hits a threshold and defaults to what once worked. It feels personal because it happens inside you, but it wasn't created in isolation. The strategy protected you once, but now it creates distance. Not because you don't care, because the system reduces access to manage intensity. And when access reduces, your partner experiences absence. The shutdown that once preserved connection can now disrupt it. That's the painful irony. Many people don't just shut down, they shut down and then judge themselves for it. Why can't I just talk? Why do I disappear? What's wrong with me? That second reaction adds more pressure to the system, and pressure increases shutdown. Most of us were never taught how to stay present inside emotional intensity. We were taught to be quiet, to be polite, to be composed, to be agreeable, or we were taught to escalate. Very few people were taught how to regulate through conflict. So when intensity rises, your system uses what it knows. Staying present during tension is not a personality trait, it's capacity. Capacity develops through repair, safety, gradual exposure, co-regulation. If those were limited, shutdown becomes predictable, not mysterious. This confuses people. You might be decisive at work, articulate with friends, calm in other areas, but relationships activate attachment, and attachment activates older layers. So shutdown doesn't mean you lack strength. It means the stakes feel higher. Many people interpret shutdown as I must not care enough, but often the opposite is true. The more someone matters, the more exposure you feel. The more exposure, the more load. The more load, the more likelihood the system conserves. Shutdown is often proximity plus overwhelm, not indifference. Your nervous system is pattern-driven. It recognizes tone, facial shifts, energy changes, micro-expressions. It reacts to familiarity, not accuracy. If something resembles an earlier dynamic, the old response activates, even if the current person is different. The closer someone gets, the more of you becomes visible. Needs, expectations, boundaries, disappointment. That visibility increases activation points. So intimacy doesn't feel like warmth. It increases exposure, and exposure tests capacity. When tension enters, your system doesn't just assess the disagreement. It assesses the bond. Is this safe? Is this stable? Is this going to end? If early experiences linked conflict with loss, even small friction can activate shutdown. Here's what the system believes. If I reduce my presence, the intensity will drop. If I flatten my reaction, the conflict won't grow. If I disengage, this will pass faster, so it conserves. It's trying to stabilize the environment by reducing your output. When you understand shutdown as protection, not defect, something shifts. You stop attacking yourself for hitting a threshold. You start seeing capacity limits instead of character flaws. And that distinction matters because you can expand capacity, but you can't heal something you keep mislabeling. The goal is not to never shut down. The goal is to catch it earlier. The first signals are subtle. Your jaw tightens, your thoughts blur, your voice shortens. You want the conversation to end. That's the window. If you miss it, the system goes offline. If you catch it, you still have access. When you feel the shutdown rising, say something simple. I'm starting to shut down. I need a second. I'm getting overwhelmed. Not dramatic, not explanatory, just honest. Naming it interrupts the automatic spiral. Silence reinforces shutdown. Language slows it. Don't try to win the conversation. Slow your physiology. Drop your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Lengthen your exhale. Your partner isn't the emergency. Your nervous system thinks there is one. Regulate first, then respond. If the pace is too fast, say it. Can we slow this down? I want to stay in this. I just need a minute. Notice what you're doing there. You're not exiting. You're staying with structure. Shutdown exits silently. Regulated presence adjusts visibility. Don't aim for perfect presence. Aim for 5% more than your default. One extra sentence. One honest reaction. One clarification instead of withdrawal. Capacity expands gradually. You build it by staying slightly longer than your system expects. Do not wait until mid-argument to explain your shutdown. Explain it when things are calm. Sometimes when things get intense, I go quiet. It's not me pulling away, it's me getting overwhelmed. That conversation builds context. Context reduces misinterpretation. If intensity triggers shutdown, create guardrails. Can we take turns talking? Can we avoid raising our voices? If I pause, I'm not leaving. Structure lowers threat. Lower threat increases access. You will shut down sometimes. That's normal. The difference now is repair. I shut down earlier. I wasn't fully there. I want to come back to it. Repair teaches the nervous system something new. Disconnection is not permanent. When shutdown is active, don't try to deliver a TED Talk. Keep it simple. I need a pause. I'm overloaded. Let's continue in 10 minutes. Clarity is regulating. Long explanations are not. This is advanced. Instead of isolating during overwhelm, practice staying in proximity, sitting next to each other quietly, holding hands without talking, breathing in the same room. Co-regulation expands tolerance. You don't have to solve the conflict immediately. You have to prove that intensity doesn't equal abandonment. Your goal isn't to eliminate shutdown, it's to expand the amount of intensity you can stay present inside. That's capacity. Capacity grows through repeated exposure, pair with safety, not pressure. Start small, disagree gently, express a preference, state a boundary calmly. Don't wait for a major conflict. Train your system in low-stakes moments. That's how tolerance expands. When you try to stay present longer, your system will push back. You will feel the urge to withdraw, to smooth it over, to shut it down. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're stretching. Most people track their shutdowns. Track your moments of presence instead. I stayed 5 seconds longer. I said one honest sentence. I didn't disappear completely. The nervous system updates through repetition and recognition. If you shut down in relationships, it doesn't mean you can't handle love. It means your system learned that connection required protection. But protection is adjustable. Presence is trainable. And staying, even slightly longer, rewrites the map. One regulated conversation at a time. That's it for today. Thanks for spending this time with us. If this resonated, take a moment and comment on what your body is learning right now. Naming it is part of the process. Share, like, and comment, and be part of our community. We're Spark Growth, your companion on the path of healing.